Dolly friends. This is Kitty.
And I'm Totty.
And welcome to Little Bottle Nursery. Our channel is dedicated to our love of dolls and creating fun and positivity in the doll hobby. So stick around and have some dolly fun. Hi Dolly friends, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here today, my name is Kitty and with my daughter Totty, we are a doll collecting duo from Australia. Precious sweet Sunday is here to say hello today. She is the latest addition to our dolly nursery and we recently did a box opening on her and she is just so precious. So I haven't actually had a chance to do a outfit change on her. I have the sweetest little outfit here today to put on her. I'm going to put on this really gorgeous little farm inspired outfit. Isn't it so sweet? Look at the little wheelbarrows and the little carrots and the turnips. Super cute. There's little pants and there's some mittens because it's autumn in Australia now. Love this headband. So it's just going to look so pretty on Sunday. Isn't it, darling? So today we wanted to say a really big thank you to all our lovely viewers for your kind words and encouragement after we recently uploaded our 3-part series about manufacturing in China. We are so pleased to hear that you found the information contained in those videos helpful, and a really big warm welcome to all our new subscribers. We are so happy you have joined our Dolly channel. So about 99.9% of the feedback from the video series, it's been really positive, which is fantastic. It's been so wonderful to have a few sculptors reach out to our channel to thank us for providing the information about the pitfalls of manufacturing in China and what types of things can be put in place to reduce the risks associated with those issues. So the plan is to address the other 0.1% that wasn't positive, because it's important to address this type of nonsense and nip it in the bud, because it's not smart to have it spreading around the community like it's gospel. If you are new here today or uncertain of what's been going on, grab a cup of tea and stay a while whilst I do a quick chat and change on my dollies in the nursery and I will fill you in. So for those who are new here today, if you are unsure of what's going on, we were both surprised and concerned after recently seeing some sculpt artists of reborn kits very openly and publicly claiming that they have never protected their work with the appropriate contract agreements when manufacturing their kits in China. Comments were also made about how many artists use the same manufacturer and that the majority of these sculpt artists using this manufacturer had had their kits copied at least once. With my professional background, I created a helpful 3-part video series that identified some of the risks or pitfalls of manufacturing in China and some effective ways to reduce those risks. As previously discussed in our 3-part series, both intellectual property and contracts are absolutely essential to protect an individual's work, especially when they manufacture in China. I have included a link in the description box if you're interested in checking out our 3-part video series. After these videos aired, some individuals have taken offence to the factual information contained in the 3-part series and felt the need to reach out and question my moral standards. Let me make this absolutely crystal clear. I keep my opinions out of these types of videos and just present the facts so that viewers can make up their own mind about the factual information presented. In terms of intellectual property infringements, personal morals are irrelevant in the court system. The courts require factual evidence to prosecute offending companies and to initiate their law enforcement to seize goods or to take down infringing products from e-commerce platforms. This next part is not directed at our lovely viewers. It's directed towards those who troll our channel, who are clearly not very bright because they do not bother to watch our videos, check the credible sources included in our videos down in the description box, or even do a basic search online before leaving really stupid comments on our channel. You seriously need to check yourself because it is so embarrassing, the nonsense comments you leave on our channel. I delete most of your rubbish because I am seriously second-hand embarrassed for you. It's actually not difficult for anyone to find credible sources of information just doing a basic search online. I'm actually going to show viewers shortly just how easy it is for anyone to access relevant information which has been publicly published from government agencies and experts in the field of business and law that is designed to help business owners on these matters. Intellectual property is a private property right, so individuals are responsible for monitoring and enforcing their IP through the correct channels. And there is more than enough information online from the relevant government agencies and leading legal experts in this field on this topic. So there really is no excuse for individuals not being able to locate the relevant information online. The free online guidance, it's designed to help individuals and business owners who are considering manufacturing in China. Research is key for anyone considering manufacturing in a foreign country like China, as it enables an individual to just grasp the broad understandings about the complexities of manufacturing in a foreign country like China. And it's good to do it before actually making an appointment to see a suitably qualified law firm for their legal help with registering IP and drafting contracts, etc. So it's just the information online is designed to give like a very broad overview so that you're not going into your law firm completely clueless, basically. You've got sort of a basic understanding of what needs to happen. I really do not care less if you don't believe a word in our videos, but if you clicked on the credible links provided in the description box of our videos, or even better, typed into a search engine how to reduce the risks of manufacturing in China, or the pros and cons of manufacturing in China, or how to protect my intellectual property when manufacturing in China, you will very quickly and easily find a gigantic volume of helpful information from all the relevant government agencies and international leading legal experts whose advice mirrors the advice that we've shared with our viewers in the 3-part series. So let's actually take a look at typing in how to reduce the risks of manufacturing in China. Surprise, surprise. The below 6 basic things are key to reducing your China manufacturing risks. Use a good manufacturer. Use good manufacturing agreements. Use detailed documents. Visit the factory. Inspect your products. Oh, look, register your IP. And that was one click that takes 6 seconds. Wow. Here we go. Top 5 methods to protect your intellectual property in China. Look at that. Number 1, register your IP. Perform takedowns on Chinese websites. Register with customs. Gee, funny, I've spoken about that before, haven't I? Engage a brand monitoring service. Monitor Chinese trademark filings. Gee, that's funny. Spoke about that in the videos too, but apparently that's all nonsense according to the trolls. 5 cons of manufacturing in China. Oh, here we go. Intellectual property risk. Wow, gee, that's interesting. Look at that. But apparently that's all nonsense. So maybe we'll take a look at something else. Let's go to the next one. Well, what was the other one that I suggested? Here we go. What's this one? Let's go up the top here. The pros and cons of manufacturing in China. Let's go down and take a look through here and see what we can find. Here we go. Intellectual property risk. That was exactly what was on the other page. And it goes through. Look at this. All the companies talking about it, unbelievable, but apparently we don't know what we're talking. The 13 pros and cons of manufacturing in China. How incredible. So let's move on to the next one. How to protect my intellectual property when manufacturing in China. Register your IP. Gee, that wasn't too difficult to find, was it? No wonder people are not buying into this nonsense anymore. Wow. Oh, here's a great one. Can you think of a way to protect US intellectual property while using China's manufacturing base? Protect your IP in China by registering your IP in China. Unbelievable. And yet apparently people like myself have no idea what we're talking about. Wake up. It's because this information is so easily accessible. This is why many collectors are just not buying into this nonsense anymore. Best tips to protect your intellectual property rights in China. Register your rights in China. One of the first things you must do if you plan to manufacture in China is register the related intellectual property. And this would be some law firm's blog. This is not rocket science, people. The 4 best ways to protect your IP in China. Protect your IP in China by registering your IP in China. Contracts, people. Yes, what I was talking about in the previous videos. But apparently, don't know what we're talking about. Check the sources, trolls, because honestly, I am secondhand embarrassed for you. It constantly astounds me how there are certain individuals who are so clueless and do not have the capacity to do a quick search online prior to making a really dumb comment on our channel. And what a joke that they are to think that they know more than worldwide government agencies and international law experts like Dan Harris, who release public advice on this matter to help them. It just demonstrates how arrogant and ignorant they are. Unfortunately, no matter how many times the same information is broken down into a simpler form and repeated, there are certain individuals who simply refuse to accept the facts and will plead ignorance or be in complete denial. There's no helping those types of individuals. They are the types of individuals who just react to everything and want to blame everyone else rather than looking for productive solutions. There is an enormous amount of advice online to assist individuals from the various government agencies from around the world about intellectual property and specifically manufacturing in China. Under the Australian Constitution, the Australian government is responsible for administering intellectual property, and they delegate dedicated agencies that administer those responsibilities. Viewers will have a similar type of agency or agencies in their own country responsible for intellectual property. As my regular viewers already know, with my professional background, I have decades of experience working in both the private and government sectors, including the agency responsible for administering intellectual property. So I am very familiar with the advice that is published publicly from the Australian government on these matters. In my country, the Australian government has released a vast amount of information about manufacturing in China to assist Aussie businesses with navigating the complexities. I have included various online links in the description box that IP Australia and Austrade have released. I'm now going to briefly show the trolls, seeing how they think it's some kind of conspiracy theory, that the information is correct. Now let's take a look at registering copyright in China, because everyone wants to dispute this and say, no, I'm covered under the Berne Convention. Wakey. China operates under an optional copyright registration, as do many other countries, but not Australia. There we go. Registering copyright in China provides the owner with a Chinese government-issued document showing ownership of the work. This can be useful for a number of reasons. It will greatly simplify enforcement in China. It will make it easier for the copyright owner to enforce their rights against infringers through local authorities, that is, through the courts. It will help you take action against web pages and infringing listings on e-commerce platforms. Wow, I spoke about that in the previous videos, but apparently it's a conspiracy theory. If a business has a sufficiently created logo mark, copyright can be a useful tool in addition to a trademark registration. Yeah, I spoke about that too. If you do not register your copyright in China, you need to provide evidence of your copyright, and you may need to get it notarized. Remember how I spoke about that? Yes, and it needs to be done with the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and certified by the Chinese Embassy Consulate of Australia. Oh, what do they say? It's burdensome. This process can be burdensome compared to registering a copyright in China. Wow. Funny how I spoke about that, but apparently it's all false. The National Copyright Administration of China administers the Copyright Protection Centre of China. Oh yes, the CPCC, what I've spoken about before. So there we go. It takes generally 3 months and there's a small fee. Yeah, it's about $15. There we go. So there's your conspiracy theory put to rest. It's IP Australia, that's the governing body that actually manages intellectual property for Australia. Under our constitution, they're bound to do it. IP rights are territorial, and the Australian government provides strong advice stating that the registration of intellectual property in Australia does not provide protection in China, and in order for individuals to enforce the intellectual property in China, they first need to register the intellectual property in China, noting that mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau and Taiwan have separate legal systems, and protection in each of these markets require separate registration. Although China is signed up to certain conventions and treaties like the Berne Convention, they can still operate under their own legal system, and they do not recognise intellectual property such as copyright that has not been officially registered under their optional registration system. Nor do the Chinese courts recognise manufacturing agreements that are not written in the Chinese language and governed under Chinese law. Copyright applies to literary works, artistic works and software, and in Australia copyright is automatic. However, artistic works are no longer covered under copyright law once an article has been manufactured 50 or more times. Individuals are required to take out a design right instead to protect their work, and the protection is valid for a maximum of 10 years. In China, mass-produced artistic works are recognised under copyright. However, in order to license or enforce a copyright in China, it needs to be optionally registered with the Chinese authorities through the CPCC. Officially registering copyright in China will speed up the pace of law enforcement and e-commerce platforms taking down and seizing infringement products. The Australian government, through IP Australia, also recommends anyone considering doing business in China needs to protect their name brand with a registered Chinese trademark, and they advise individuals must be willing to spend money on registering trademarks before entering the market because it is far more expensive to lose control of a trademark. I have discussed this very topic very extensively in our 3-part video series. The advice contained in our 3-part series, it echoes the advice by the Australian government, including IP Australia and Austrade and other international law experts like Dan Harris. To put simply, if individuals are going to do business in China, for example, they're going to manufacture in China, they should be respectful of the laws in that country where they are conducting their business. And that includes registering their intellectual property in China and having the correct contracts in place with their manufacturer so that the Chinese courts and their law enforcement can effectively act upon infringements according to their laws when required. Don't believe what I'm saying? Let's take a look here. Intellectual property registration and protection can be complex, especially in overseas markets. We recommend you seek advice from an IP professional regarding your circumstances. IP should be a key part of any business strategy for China because the market remains challenging. The key fundamentals are to register your IP rights in China as early as possible. Here we go. Use strong contracts and actively enforce against infringers. Look, you've even got a PDF guide protecting your IP in China. Maybe we need to click on that and take a look too. So here we go. Here's the little PDF document. Look at this. Seeking legal advice, registering your IP rights in China, use enforceable contracts designed for China, monitor for infringement, trademarks, copyright and due diligence. All the practical tips I've spoken about in our 3-part series, but apparently we don't know anything. Yes, that's right. According to the trolls, we don't, but it's all here for anyone to see. So clearly the trolls are incapable of typing a few words into a search engine. They would rather be in denial about it all. Oh, look at that. It's up to date. March 2022. Judgments from a number of countries, including Australia and the US, are also not automatically recognised in China. So even if an individual wins their infringement lawsuit in their own country, they will still need to appoint a Chinese lawyer to file their foreign judgment in the Chinese courts, and only if the Chinese courts rule in the individual's favour, they can seek provisions for damages, and infringement takedowns can be enacted upon by Chinese law enforcement. And it's usually done through arbitration. You can see that here. So not rocket science, people. All I've typed in here is foreign judgments not recognised in China. This process cannot be completed until the foreign judgment, say it's written in English, is translated in Chinese and then validated by the Chinese embassy in the individual's home country. This is a very time-consuming and costly exercise, often costing the individual thousands of dollars. This is why it is so important for individuals who choose to manufacture in China to register their intellectual property in China and have the appropriate dual language contracts with their manufacturer that protects their intellectual property during the manufacturing process. It saves a lot of red tape, saving time and money in the long run. Even then, the Chinese courts have been known to either dismiss foreign judgment cases or not rule in favour of the individual. And I'm going to speak more on this in another video, so in our next video that's going to come up after this one. I also want to address one particular sculpt artist who has taken issue with our 3-part video series and has made some rather interesting comments online. So I'll pop up on the screen the comments made by the sculpt artist. As you can see, their reactive comments are full of arrogance, sarcasm, and a lot of stupid. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time I've seen this silly type of nonsense that comes from certain individuals from the reborn community. So let's take a look at this sculpt artist comment. Sorry, I can't help but laugh because it's so funny. Could someone please help me understand why on earth would sculptors have contracts with factories in China that they do not do business with? Yes, I know, regular viewers, this is seriously clueless, but here we go. We're going to respond to it. Newsflash, Einstein. You do not need contracts with factories that you do not do business with. But guess what? If you do plan to manufacture your products in China, you do need to register your intellectual property in China and have the appropriate contract agreements in place with your factory to protect your intellectual property so that your product ideas do not get leaked or sold from inside your supply chain to third parties outside your supply chain. Even when individuals are working with Chinese factories who are operating their businesses with honesty and integrity, it doesn't automatically mean that their partner factories or subcontractors are. And unless there are contracts in place to protect your intellectual property with your manufacturer, your product or molds can very easily fall into the hands to those outside your supply chain. And I will go on to discuss this further in our next video. In addition, with the right registrations and contracts in China, you will then have the ability to enforce your rights on infringements in China more quickly and effectively. Furthermore, in relation to the comments you made referring to Chinese factories that fall under the category of outside the supply chain, if you'd actually taken the time to watch our 3-part series, you would have learned all about the different risks both inside the supply chain and outside the supply chain, and what things are needed to protect an individual's work accordingly to reduce the risks of their work being copied and their intellectual property being taken. As far as you asking random people in the community for their advice, please don't. If you're going to ask anyone for advice, please refer to the official advice your government has issued on this topic and speak to a suitably qualified law firm, one that specialises in intellectual property and international law, because they are going to set you straight in about 5 minutes flat and will advise you on the benefits of being proactive about protecting your intellectual property rather than reactively responding to infringements. And as for the silly threats this sculpt artist has made about people like us needing to keep our mouth shut, yeah, that won't be happening. The sculpt artist should take 5 minutes and get online and do a bit of research, because honestly, I am secondhand embarrassed for them. But this is precisely what I'm talking about, this bullying type behaviour. When anyone tries to sort of say or do anything positive and it doesn't fit with the narrative that they have within that community, then they start to bully. Unfortunately, it's this in denial reactive behaviour that is the biggest issue that I've seen coming from that community, which does nothing to help the cause. So stay tuned for our next video, where I'm going to address 3 discussion points. So number 1, I'm going to clarify some points about the manufacturing supply chain. Yes, I know this has already been discussed in previous videos, but it's abundantly clear that it needs to be broken down into even simpler terms for some individuals. The second point I'm going to discuss in our next video is pursuing infringements in China versus your own country, the pros and cons. You're going to be really surprised by some of the information about that, so you will not want to miss that. And the third point I'm going to raise in our next video is being proactive versus being reactive. So in our next video, I'm going to identify how individuals benefit from proactively managing their intellectual property rather than using a reactive approach where individuals ignore the laws made available in foreign countries like China, which are designed to protect and benefit the individual when they manufacture their products in China. Oh, look at little Sunday. She looks so precious. I'm absolutely loving this headband in her hair. The colours just look so amazing with her outfit. Oh, she is just such a cutie pie. I'm going to do a final once over so you can see exactly how beautiful she looks. So on a final note, there are these sculptors that are basically openly admitting that they are not protecting their work properly with contracts and IP registration, even when there is all this free guidance available online to instruct them otherwise. No wonder there are so many collectors becoming frustrated with this nonsense. No excuse really when the information is free and so easy to find. Thank you so much, Dolly friends, for being here today. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps us out. And if you're new here today, maybe consider subscribing to our channel. We're so looking forward to seeing you in the next installment, so stay tuned. Take care, everyone. Loved you all. Bye, everyone. Bye.